you kind of get hype on yourself for a minute because you didn't even know you could do it. And then the next thing you know, you're like, hey, that shit kind of fire though. Hold on. And I think that just comes down to the inner artist in you. If you can walk through a museum and point out, oh, I like this one or I don't like this one, I can tell you why. Just the capacity to form your opinion on it. Okay, there's an artist in there. You know what I mean? Not necessarily just a critic, because a lot of critics are failed artists, right? And that's an unfortunate space to think from. But as an admirer, you can say like, oh, this is what speaks to me, and this is why. This is why I connect with that.
Say I love you, say it often. Say it before it's too late. Life is finite, fragile, and glorious. The human experience is a roller coaster with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Don't worry about what the world thinks of you. You have enough trouble worrying about what you think of you. And it's okay. No, you do not always have to be happy, peppy, and full of vigor. It is okay to have a day, and take that day for yourself. Do the work, trust the process, and you will shine greater for it. Never forget how much you matter, that you belong here, that you're worthy of everything regardless of the past, present, or the future. You will get through it. Never lose the courage to continue. Remember that I will always love you.
I'm in the big leagues, told him don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding a road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now. So I need that go, y'all. Got hits when he throwing the fastball. Just too quick for it, peeling off like the whip horn.
What's good? It's your boy St. James. It's Jimmy, representing here with my man Ruben Rojas on the Live Through Love podcast. Let's see, we talking about all that good, man. That what it was, what it is, and what it will be for all things St. James. Talking about how we live through love. Man, you know how I'm defining that. You know your boy the mad scientist on the words like that. So check it out, peep this. I feel like there's good things in there for you, for everybody. You know, some of that to sizzle on. We need some seasoning in our lives for how we gonna make it better. But all good things in there. Plus, I'm gonna drop some bars on you. You're not ready for that life, bro. Don't get yourself hurt out here. St. Jimmy representing. Let's go.
St. James.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the studio, fam.
Man, appreciate it. Always good to be in the studio, bro.
Yeah, thanks for coming through.
Yeah, man.
What do we got on the agenda today?
Oh, I don't know, man. I just love what you building over here. I love what you putting together. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is a necessary ingredient in the world right now. Can I say that out loud?
Yeah, it's a superpower.
Man, for real.
And we all have it. Like, you want to be a superhero? Dude, lead with love.
Man, it's so interesting. I feel like so many people don't know how to love themselves right now. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a good, like a healthy conquest. And I feel like it's becoming more evident, especially through social media and what have you, about the dissonance and the divide and people's like having to come to terms with actually you don't even love yourself. No wonder you having so many issues with your relationships or whatever, what have you, with your career goals, with your path. You know, what are you on? What you passionate about? And how much do you really care? You know what I mean? So,
dude, let's unpack that a little bit, right? Self-love and really looking at ourselves. How can we show up in the world fully if we don't love ourselves and be compassionate and empathetic and understanding to others?
It's a great question. I think in order to be compassionate, I think a lot of people take their morality from biblical reference, or they say it's a gift from God. But in actuality, I feel like it's more biological. You know what I mean? Like when you see a dog's tail get stepped on and you hear that, yip! And it's like, oh, like it immediately puts a feeling of like, oh man, I don't want that to happen to you because the way it sounds like something I don't want to happen to me. And so therefore compassion gets built, right? And I feel like in that space, this is how you know we're designed to be social creatures. We have outputs and we have inputs, you know what I'm saying? But the idea is that when you see someone else's hurt and someone else's harm, that you like stop for a minute and be like, damn, dude, I don't want that for you. Most specifically because, especially if you felt some hurt before, you understand what it's like, and you like, damn, I don't want that hurt for you. You know what I mean? So, but a lot of people are running from their own hurts, their own, you know what I mean? They won't even admit to them because of a feeling of feeling insignificant or not enough. You know what I mean? But I feel like people don't define. It starts with your definitions. How do you know what I mean? Like, how do you define love? Like, how do you define love? You know what I mean?
Depends on the context of what
it certainly does, right? It certainly does. I mean, I think it's arguable. I mean, for me, and I'm a scientist with words, you know what I mean? Like, that's my gig. And so when it comes to this one particularly, I had a tough time with it. I wrestled with it. And I tried to find something that was like the end all be all. Like, I need something that is definition can't like, it's not a conditional definition, right? And what I came up with, and this is, and I'm still to this day, if someone can find me a better definition, then by all means feel free. But when they say like, oh, from the Bible, like, oh, love is patient, love is kind. No, that's how love acts. It's not what love is. Define love for me. You're describing aspects of love, right? So for me, it's always just been to know a thing is to love a thing. So love is the pursuit of knowledge of a thing. You know what I mean? And the act of getting to know a thing. And I feel like that in and of itself is an act of service. It requires patience. It requires compassion. And all those things suddenly become very clear and very reverent. And you notice how when someone does not know themselves, you know what I'm saying? You understand why they fall into so many traps. And then it says in the Bible too, like, God knew you before he formed you, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and to understand like the entirety of your creature and give yourself a little bit more patience, a little more grace, a little more compassion, like you'll start to learn more about yourself and not so judge so harshly upon your mistakes and times you've tripped. You know what I mean? Like, it's my opinion.
I love it. I love it. And to speak into that, it's not knowing ourselves, not understanding who we are, comes from a few things. And one thing that I wrestle with is the fear of judgment of others. How am I being perceived, understood, accepted, taken in? And how do I look up here, period? Right? Once you get past all that, the vulnerability in owning that. And then the other thing is we're so worried about what people think of us that we start putting on masks and create characters of ourselves. Right. And we don't even, I mean, between that, we're just eternally lying to ourselves.
Right. It gets heavy. It gets heavy because, you know, in order to operate in the world, you do have to carry some sort of masks. And just as a Black man in America, like, you understand, like, your interview voice is not the same as your kicking it with the homies voice or how you answer the phone voice. You know what I mean? So it's all different strokes for different folks, but it all breaks down to acceptance, wanting to be accepted in a space, wanting to feel safe in a space. You know what I mean? So a lot of us can chameleon into a room, you know what I mean? And then you get to a space, and you see this a lot in your elderly. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have grandparents where they just don't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, like, this is what I am, baby. Like, you need to come to terms with me. I take a lot of notes on that. Like, what do you really have? You know what I mean? But I also think, you know, we learned some of this from Chappelle too. Like, you know, when keeping it real goes wrong, you know what I mean? There's a point in time when you might have to humble yourself and submit to the moment. And just be like, I don't need to be, it's not about me right now. I need to be of service to the moment. And so there's a line there of, you know, kind of selling yourself out, and to where you're just being like, nah, I'm just laying back. You don't need all of me right now. I used to have this issue because this big ass personality would sometimes come into the room before I would and create issues for me, like before I even, you know what I mean? Y'all motherfuckers don't even know me, you know what I mean? But through time, I think some of it I mourn. I mourn some of that adolescent fire, just been like, just not so less concerned with what people thought, but then also just understanding like, not everything's a stage. You know what I mean? Not everywhere is a stage. And so some masks are necessary and some masks are, a divorce from your true self. And you know what I mean? And that's unfortunate that people find themselves in that space where they feel stapled to and attached to, and they have to have it. Like, I feel for you. You know what I mean?
So as an entertainer, just imagine you're walking out on stage, you're in SoFi Stadium, you're surrounded by 80,000 people. That big Jimmy personality's got to come out and be like, yo, I'm here. You suck them in.
Right.
But I also think a superpower is like stopping, listening, and being present. You actually can create more attention and more focus on yourself by doing nothing but standing and owning it. How does that apply on a stage? Those moments of silence, or like, how do you navigate the crowd?
I feel like I'm a born entertainer, and the stage was probably the first place I ever felt like home. You know what I mean? I feel more at home than I do in my own backyard. You know what I mean? But it is a relationship. You know what I mean? And if you're not careful, you can become a slave to that relationship, just like many people, but when you understand like the acting of itself is an act of service. You know what I'm saying? You come to provide a specific set of hope and energy transference and all that. And you do require an audience for that. But it could be 8 people, it could be 80 grand, And the only difference is it really is like your capacity to be able to connect one-on-one and just meet somebody, where they are. I mean, I'm notorious for it don't matter who's in the room. I'm going to give you all I got. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is in an act of service, but you're absolutely right. To command someone's attention on that level and just to be small for a moment, let the room be like, it's almost a, a reference or some reverence to the idea that we did this. It took both of us to be here for this to happen. You know what I mean? And so just, a lot of humility and respect goes into that space. But be that, try and be that boss in the empty room. You know what I mean? And it's not going to work the same. It does require that relationship to be cultivated and to be built and for you to pour into these people. You know what I mean? God love them for that. God love them for that. God love for people who actually take the time to enjoy your art and what you put out into the world. Man, it's a humble feeling for sure.
Dude, it's super humble. It's energizing. That's why we do this. But you just mentioned something about show up just as big in a room by yourself. So like there's this saying, show up in the world the same way you show up yourself, and what you do in front of people is how you should be also doing it behind closed doors when nobody's looking.
Concept of integrity, right? I went to a Kanye show one time and I paid mad loot for those tickets at the Rose Bowl. I think it was like 808s. And I'm telling you, that show was dog shit. Well, I was very upset. That show was trash. It hurt me. Like it hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, yo, I want to be supportive and I want to back you up. And this is how it gets treated. Like it was like, I remember he even said like, this is the best dress rehearsal you ever been to. I was like, nah, this is not the best dress rehearsal I've ever been to. You don't know me like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And it actually like set a standard for you'll never catch me out there like that. And so any of the cats who's ever played with me, like, when I get a band on stage with me, they'll tell you like, as much as I'm a lover and a joker, you know what I mean? When it comes to this, I'm almost very militaristic. Like this, don't play with this. This is the baby, you know what I mean? And we're all hired as babysitters. Don't play with that show because that's our one chance to impact somebody's life in the most positive way. You know, like Kobe's, he's gonna lay some up every night because you never know who's out there, man. You know what I'm saying? So
practice just as hard as you're gonna play the game.
Man, please do that. Please do that. You know, give them something that's worth talking about. You know what I mean? I got a show coming up, in fact, that I'm like, man, it's been such a roller coaster ride to get ready for it. But it's just because my vision for it is grandiose. It's gotta be.
I feel it.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's how I am.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just the standard. It's gotta be that. So, and anything less is a disservice to what we came out for. You know what I mean? And how I'm built. You know what I mean? So, I feel like we have God-given talents, right? And you take your mortal time and you hammer that into a skill, right? And ideally, that skill becomes a service to your community. You know what I mean? But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens.
But also, it's focusing on what you can control, right? You can control your vision for that event. You can control what you're going to play, how you're going to perform, how you're going to show up. You can't control how many people are going to show up.
Right.
You can't control what the mood is or what may have happened in the news the moment before that.
Right.
But as long as you show up in all your controllable aspects, you're going to be able to deliver what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, that's facts. I think I'm in a season right now of my own personal life of learning to let go, where that's like a high priority of coming to terms with what is, and just learning like the peace and the sanctuary of just like releasing this idea of control, and but not losing your passion for a thing, right? You don't have to be in control of something to be fired up about it, but and there are things that there's a whole lot of things that you do have to be in control of. And even then it's like, man, it's a tug of war. You know what I mean? It's especially for a person like me. You know what I mean? Like I'm designed to understand that nothing's impossible. If you want it, let's go get it. And simultaneously having to understand that not everything in this world is for you. You know what I mean? You might want a Lamborghini, but having a Lamborghini could ruin your life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
the idea of it is nice.
The idea is beautiful, right? Of hard work and then result. You know what I mean? Dope. But at the service of what? You having a dope car just so you can floss in front of people you don't like? You know what I'm saying? What's
to
the value?
Plug that hole from the missing self-love. Right? Like, I'd love a Lambo Urus.
Right.
And it's because I truly love that car and want that car, you know, for that reason, not because I want to floss or have ego. There is, of course, a little bit of that. That's not going to go away. We're men, I'm Colombian, like, it's part of it.
Sure.
But the intention is because, like, I just appreciate the car.
The craftsmanship, right? And for a motorhead, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely. It's tough to say too. Like, it's a fine line, you know, and only you really know. And that's and that's where we're back to that concept of integrity. You know what I mean? Like, only you really know, you know, behind closed doors, and when you close your eyes at night, there's only one master that you have to submit to, right? And just hopefully you've done yourself justice. Fingers crossed. You know what I mean?
And integrity is the thing you can control.
Integrity is the one thing, right? That you have to be in control of in order to be like, okay, look, what do you want for yourself? Is this really what you wanted? You know what I mean? Even to the point where, you know, the song we were working on, you know, when it first started, it was like, this is not it, but deadlines are deadlines. You know what I'm saying? And I knew that, okay, this is not it. Let me get it there. And I know I can get it there if I can put the amount of time into it. Because in my head, I'm saying, this is not to my standard yet. You see what I'm saying? And that's my man's. Why would I get something that's not even my standard, that's subpar to me, and go ahead and let you rock with it? Like, oh, yeah, go ahead. No, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like,
so let's back up a little second. We're working on a collaborative project together, right? You're a rapper. You're a hip-hop artist.
Yeah.
You're a wordsmith.
Yes, sir.
I'm an artist, painter, wordsmith on my own accord. And what we decided is like, why don't we write the Live Through Love song, bring our crafts together and see what it is.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about right now, which we've been working on for how long now?
Man, probably about almost 2 months now.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more. I'm like, we're right in there. Honestly, I'm the worst with time and dates. So that's not even my bag. But we've been working on it for a while. And I think like just coming, tapping in with some of your poetry and tapping in with just some of your concept and your intention, it was good to see it and feel it. And then to put into form, obviously, I had to take some ownership over what I put it into the world. And so understanding how my storytelling is taking someone from a start point into a space where like, this was my life not living through love. This is my life, attempting to live through love, because all it is an attempt, right?
A practice.
It's a practice for sure. And so it's a product that I, more than anything, I have to believe in it. I have to believe in it so that when I hand it over to you, it's like when I know, then I don't have to concern myself with anyone else's approval after that point. You know what I mean? Like when I feel good about it, it's solid.
I know. I can't wait. We're gonna drop it on iTunes. Where else are we putting it?
Everywhere there is. Everywhere that there is, it's gonna be. So it's got to be that.
And for our listeners, we've actually already shot some studio time, so we'll be able to walk through the actual creative process of writing a song. It's just going back and forth via text, via notes, picking some beats, words, going in, how you enunciate and pronounce the words.
It's tough too. It's tough too because, the collaborative process is to invite another chef into the kitchen. You know what I mean? And to not even having anything to do with what they do skill set wise, but just to understand, like, let me just lean some trust. Let me submit. You know what I mean? Let me let go of any idea of control and just be like, okay. And ultimately, we're both in service of the song or in service of the act, right? The art. And in that case, like I don't have any issues, any qualms, man. I love it. I love to be in service of the music. You know what I mean? So, great. That's a great thing, bro. And I appreciate just off the top. Let me just, give my gratitude for that real quick because, nobody has to. Nobody has to do anything. You know what I mean? Let alone like invite you to collab. So just gratitude, my bro. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Man.
You'll say that you can do this, but you won't.
Right on. That's got to be the record right there.
That's our mantra right now.
That's got to be it. It's got to be it, bro.
But let's talk about how did you get here? So how does little Jimmy become big old stage Jimmy? When did you fall in love with rap? When did you realize that was your medium of storytelling? Oh, man.
So my fam's from Detroit. And so just R&B, gospel, Temptations, James Brown, Prince, Parliament. All those were records that was being played in the household just like before you even had a choice in the matter. Sunday mornings, you waking up and it's popping. So, but then coming into my own, just always had a voice for it, just always had a vibe for it. And then when I was 19, I got the opportunity to play with this group, young cats, just up and comers, just like dope musicians or whatever. And they were like, yo, we just need somebody on the mic. And I was like, bet, I'll give it a go. You know what I mean? And we created a group called Diverse Link back in the day. Shout out to my DL heads. And I feel like for a pack of nobodies, we did some extraordinary things. But then that was a lot of like experimental, let's just try and make music. There wasn't a whole lot of intention. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like, we're going to be the best rock band or this. We just took all of our influences and put them into a pot. And then as I became like an adult and had to be like fend for myself and pay my taxes and the whole 9 yards, it was like, okay, you got to get a job. I got my nursing license. I became an RN. And one of my old heads was like, if you couldn't be a nurse no more and money was no object, what would you be doing? I said, shit, rock and roll, put me on stage, period. The end. And then she was like, that sounds like what you need to be doing then. So everything changed after that. And I was just like hard-headed, gotta go, gotta get to work. And then, from my hip hop influences, like my very first CD I ever purchased was Old Dirty. Ever. Roots, man, the Roots was like a major influence in my life. Keith Murray, Nas, huge. You know, and then as hip hop became like the new pop, man, I gotta be honest with you, like it intimidated me. Like I used to journal, I still do journal like pretty regularly. And in my journal, it comes out in a specific pattern. There's rhyme in it, whether I'm trying to or not. It's just how it happens. So, but thinking that I was gonna put that into a form and put that on a beat, it was like, you're not Jay-Z, you're not M, you know what I mean? Like you are not your idols. And so if you can't add something into that idea, it was like, what can you add that they're not doing already? You know what I mean? And so then there's a change in hip hop, and hip hop starts to grow up a little bit. And then they start inviting what I feel like is mockeries to the culture into the space. Now suddenly there's a need for a Jimmy, because hold on. That's not what hip hop is. Hold on. And to think that for whatever may have gotten lost in the process, or for whatever makes a record executive think they natural mind has the right to dictate what hip hop is, I'm so sorry. Like, don't nobody on this planet give me a permission slip to do hip hop. Like, that's my culture. It's what I am. It's who I am. And for anybody to say like, oh, you can't, or you not hip hop, or this is not what's popping, like, you can kiss my ass. Like, we make what we make based off the stories that we've been through and our lifestyles and that culture being submitted into the world. And we do that through our own poetry. You know what I'm saying? It's how jazz was invented. You know what I mean? It's how the blues was invented. It's how hip hop was invented, from a natural bound creativity being expressed through some relative social hardship. You know what I'm saying? And nobody gonna tell me because I'm not affiliated or because I don't got tattoos on my face, you know what I'm saying, or I got skittle dreads. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right? Bro, you miss me with all that. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I'm fortunate though too. I'm fortunate to like have found hip hop when I did, or have come to hip hop when I did. Because just my people around me, and that, you know, it's a big, like, I didn't think you could do that. Right. Because you don't know everything about everyone. I mean, a lot of things we tuck into the pages of a journal. You know what I mean? And when I finally felt like, oh no, I have to do this, there was a reverence to the culture and to the medium. I'm like, nah, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it right. And so I feel like it's an act of service once again. You know what I mean? To the culture. And hopefully like minds get to touch in with it and tap in with it and take something from it. But ultimately, that's not why I do it. I do it out of a necessity. You know what I mean?
Like, speak your truth.
Right.
So if you don't mind, let's dig a little bit deeper. So I'm hearing that, you know, there was a little insecurity before you took this patent, like, I'm sharing me, I don't need a permission slip to become this. Right. So what was the practice or what was the journey of getting through that insecurity or that unworthiness of I'm not my idols?
I was writing every day, 216s a day, every single day, religiously. This is I did for at least 2 summers straight, just to say, like, just to ask myself, can you? Like, is it gonna be good enough? And then the first joint I ever came up with, a joint called Jealous, was like on a borrowed beat, you know what I mean? And I didn't even have no licenses or nothing like that, but the bars were hard, you know what I mean? And that was a point where I was like, you kind of get hype on yourself for a minute because you didn't even know you could do it. And then the next thing you know, you're like, hey, that shit got fired. Hold on. And I think that just comes down to the inner artist in you. If you can walk through a museum and point out, oh, I like this one or I don't like this one, I can tell you why. Just the capacity to form your opinion on it. Okay, there's an artist in there. You know what I mean? Not necessarily just a critic, because a lot of critics are failed artists, right? And that's an unfortunate space to think from. But as an admirer, you can say like, oh, this is what speaks to me, and this is why. This is why I connect with that. But yeah, there was some insecurity there for sure. And I just, what is the solution for all doubt is preparation. You know what I mean? So hammering away at my craft, asked for something more. And then when that showed up, then this is when the challenges started to, because they say like there's a little bit of beginner's luck in it, right? And that's kind of let you know like, yeah, you should keep going, you should keep going. So I feel like jealous was my beginner's luck. And then to back that up and to keep it going was just like asking myself to commit to this thing. So those 3 concepts that I pulled from that was faith, discipline, and gratitude. And without those concepts, those 3 things beget all the things you need to have what we'll call love. Because those things garner trust and respect. And without trust and respect, love has no place to stand. You know what I'm saying? So faith is like the initial, let me start. Let me believe that it's possible and let me try, right? And then your discipline backs that up. Faith without works is dead. Well, discipline is the works. Commit to a thing, hammer away at it, and don't stop. And then your gratitude is how you're going to enjoy that journey, because it can be tumultuous at best. But if you can live a life of gratitude where you can just find the positives in all the things, or just find the reason to be like, yeah, but could be seen as a blessing should you choose to see it that way. So in that space is how I kind of like beat down some self-doubt, but in the act of it, found these tenets with which creates the steps to move forward. I know I believe in myself, like probably a little bit too much, but but having a little bit of faith to believe like I'm not here for no reason at all. I don't feel this way for no reason at all. But to not act on it, to not commit to that with some concept of discipline, most artists will fall off there. You know what I mean? And just not being able to stick to it. And we realized like really though, longevity is the real master of the game. It wasn't because Kobe went off for 81 one time. It's because he'll hang 40 on your head every night. You know what I'm saying? Should you let him play with him? Yeah. And that happened over 20 seasons, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's what creates his legacy. And that's what makes him an artist in that regard. One of the greatest was because you knew what he was going to give you. You know what I mean? So you come to lean on it. And that would never happen if you don't have enough discipline to see your faith forward. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the real, that's the real act of love. That's a real act of self-love, right? You know what I mean? Believing in yourself, doing the things that are necessary for that, and then having a little gratitude along the journey.
It's a choice. I'm hearing a couple of things. Like all of that is about you choosing that. You choose to have faith. You choose to be disciplined and to practice and continue. And you choose to be grateful. You also choose to create. As creators, we're actively choosing to create and go down that challenge. Right. And talent will only get you so far. Talent got Kobe to the league. Right. Talent alone didn't make Kobe Kobe. No. It's that grit, grind, practice, first one in, last one out. Like we all know his story. And all those at that level. Because everyone at that tier top level is uber talented. Right. Right. But why do some people fall off? They don't have the discipline. They don't have the gratitude.
Man, and I wouldn't even like, everyone's not going to be Kobe, just facts. And part of what my stigma was that there's already a Jay-Z and he's already like, look, my brother he was a Tupac head, and that's the dude who wrote stories that spoke his story. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, and I connected with that a lot, but it wasn't mine. It was a hand-me-down from my bro. But Hove, that dude tells my story, right? And then now through Kendrick and Cole, and I have greats that I can lean on. But without understanding that I don't have to be them, I got to be myself. You know what I mean? But these are their avatars or their leaders. They helped guide you in a specific direction. And thank God, that they had that capacity to be put on in order to influence a simple mind like myself. Like,
and there's a big difference to aspire towards your idols and these people. It's like, look, I can be on that level, but I could be me on that level.
Oh yeah.
And that's aspiring to, right? Let's not try to be all these people. There's only one you. Everyone else is already taken,
Facts.
right?
Facts.
And that worth and that belonging.
Well, right. Like, and plus, like, look, I didn't sell drugs, at least not for very long. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not like, it's not me.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows me, like legit knows me, been where I've been from, knows like, that's not Lo. Lo's a lover. Like that dude's going to give you the shirt off his back. Like that dude goes hard in the paint for his, and you know what I mean? Passionate and a joyful soul. You know what I mean? That's Lo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's Jimmy from Baby Jimmy, right? So the idea that that I need to be more hood or more gangster or more egotistical or more anything, as opposed to just being what I am and understand this shit is dope. Like, hold on. I'm gonna say some things to you that they would never say because their perspective is not mine. You know what I mean? So let me just do that then. Let me do that and let me commit. And hopefully, more than anything, I'll also be able to trust and lean on and respect myself based on the work that I put into it. You know what I mean? To where you don't have to come, what is the answer for all doubt is preparation. Like I prepared for this moment. You know what I mean? And so what value does it give to me to walk into a space feeling like I don't belong or feeling like I have any doubt when that's not accurate? You know what I mean?
And you can look at yourself in the mirror.
Amen. That's the first place you got to look, right? So major kudos, man, to those out there doing it. Because it does take work. It's almost therapy. You heard that new Kendrick. That's therapy, bro.
Bro, we want to go into that new Kendrick. Let's talk about Mr. Moral.
Man.
That dropped a couple weeks ago now. And I listened to it twice through the minute. It was 9 p.m. PST on iTunes. Like, boom. And I mean, I texted you like an hour or so in. I'm like, bro, have you tapped in?
Yeah.
And I go on Twitter and I'm looking at what's trending and people are like, well, it's not Dan. It's not Kung Fu Kenny. It's not, I'm like, but any true artist is going to evolve and come at you from the next level. And it's from the space he's operating from. And I thought it was absolute genius. Like, dude, Auntie Diaries talking about trans, like in this space of masculine hip hop.
Right.
Like, whoa.
And not even coming from it from like a false, like I always been hype on this.
Yeah.
No, like coming from a space of, no, we had to learn how to be down with this. You know what I mean? We had to learn how to let go of connotations. I think you got to give it to him for his authenticity and for his honesty. People are going to tell you, this is what I'm saying to you, like right now, just right now. And I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think this album would be possible without an album like a 444, where we've had the opportunity, or like a Nas Magic, where we've had the opportunity to see hip hop grow up. Like grow up, dude. Not everything is about you flossing about what you got and what you don't got. Because in the reality, you bankrupt morally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you dealing with that? You know, you acting like just you know, like you don't got daddy issues because you got loot. You know what I'm saying? Like, since when? No. You know, a lot of black men come up in this day and age with a concept of approval and how you gain that approval. You know what I mean? Whether that being tough enough or making enough money, what we call success, you know, all of it. And so to see that happen through this record and just to see this man's growth process is so liberating, man. It's so like, you know, all the more reason why you should be out there doing it yours in your way and saying your piece, because there's a space for it. There's room for it. You know what I mean?
And yeah, not trying to find your self-worth in all these definitions of what society says. Like, I've been down those paths. I talk about it a lot. The 26-inch rims and the diamond watches, and like, dude, it made me feel good. And especially when you got the comments, but then at the end of the day, when all that's gone, it's me and mine and my convo. You know, what'd you leave behind? But even one of the things Kendrick said in a song, he's like Kanye and Drake kissed and made up. Damn, I must need to go work on myself. Right?
Right.
Like, I need to work on like, if that was possible, why can't I find a solution in my, you know, conflicts with other people? Let me go look at me and work on myself to fix this. Like, that line was like, woo.
Yeah. Yeah, it brings up notions of a lot of what the culture is built on is the hot pot complex. And it's that how we learn a lot in the culture is from getting burned. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot of what not to do. Now, forgiveness is not typically one of the traits you pick up in that space because a lot of forgiveness or a soft heart can get you killed. You know what I'm saying? Can get you hurt worse. And so not a concept that's spoken about highly, and especially not in the presence of in a winning stature or you know, in the concept of this person's already successful. What do you have to forgive? You know what I'm saying? People should be forgiving you. You know what I mean? Like there's a very big ego vessel in that space.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, this is again how we're talking about, you know, having some compassion for us. So to understand what they've been through, that's why they are the way they are. They're sum total of their experiences. You know what I mean? Not to say like, oh, well, I'm better than you because I've been down my spiritual path and I know better. Well, that don't make you better. You know what I mean? That means you might have taken a few steps in this direction and you could see when someone has this hurt going on or whatever they got going on, then they need some leadership as well, some guidance. So just giving it up to what hip hop is and people who want it is like, yo, the record doesn't have any bops to it. I'm like, you're not listening right though. It's just different. And last time I checked, Kung Fu King don't owe you shit.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Don't owe you a fucking thing. Like, be grateful. You know what I'm saying? That the artwork, that you can even be in the museum to see the artwork at all.
Be grateful that he dropped that, right?
Exactly.
He opens it up. I've been going through something. It's been 1,184 days or something like that. Right. I've been going through something.
He breaks it down.
Like he literally put it all out there on there. If you really listen and dive in, that's amazing. Let's shift. Quick question. Top 5 hip hop artists right now. Your top 5.
My
Your
top
favorites.
5?
Yeah.
Oh man.
They don't have to be in numerical order. Just the top.
No,
5.
like, okay, so my top 5 is very rarely going to stray from this. You know, obviously Jay-Z, Black Thought, Kendrick and Cole are leaders of their own right. I'm a Mos Def knucklehead. And I mean that's 5 right there. And I think in that space, they just do it in a way, not to take away from anybody else, but they just do it in a way that I really respect, in that they apply a lot of risk. And not to knock on Drake at all. I love Drake and everybody, we all got here. Everyone has a favorite Drake song, just period.
They got a couple dozen.
Right. Because he's fantastic, right? He's fantastic. But I do see a fall off or a distance between him and what we might see Cole or Kendrick, because there's a lack of risk. And it's almost a nod to his perfectionism, because he's a perfectionist, you know what I'm saying? And without any risk, bruh, it's like life happens in the risk. What happens if you don't roll the dice, bro? You're not playing the game. So, and the artists that I respect the most and the artists that I connect with the most are typically the ones who submit the most highly to the risk. You know what I mean? Try and put something out there that just maybe hasn't been done before. You know, it's just not safe. So, and you know, that's something that's for me personally. So is to be able to roll those dice.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I feel you there. So I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
Feel free.
I wanna hear your chops.
Okay.
Can you spit us a couple bars around love? Is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah. Of course. I always got one in the chamber. But you know, it's not for me. I had to do this for the culture. See, the game is sound asleep. Okay, let's palm up this Folgers. It's the best part of being woke. Power is a slippery slope. All these baby signing deals is caught up in the okie doke. Wait, it's shaking dice like a casino. Mind my own business, frog. Sipping tea, leave me alone. Working till I can't no more. Just so when I'm gone, all my people got a good reason to go on. Missing Lolo, I'm that best kept secret. New Illuminati flow. Galileo mind state, that Renaissance be on me though. I dove into the pen and pad to frame the dichotomy. Got bars like it's prison rules. Salvation and sodomy. You ain't a fan of St. James? Well, boy, you ought to be. Jealous niggas, man, they ain't been working on it properly. Half-stepping style, snaking, cultural appropriating. Who let the outside in? What's the policy on immigration, huh? You got me upside down like Spanish question mark. You don't want me winning? Don't get me started. The world's a stage, boy. Go play your part. And somehow, Jimmy, the one that ended up coming up short. My Lord. Call him Kevin Hart. These rappers got a habit of thinking they so important. I could never hear a G-Eazy record and still be better for it. Nah, I actually think he's trash. Ain't nothing metaphoric. Whoa, you got reservations. Whoa, steady making plans. Jimmy was a wonderful choice, like I am Sam. Been hawking way too long. Got your niggas Instagram. Got you wishing and wishing and wishing and wishing and wishing on me. Check. Call it God's plan. An awful lot to say, but nobody understand. All the stuttering mumble rappers. Come on, son. Stop it now. Shut the fuck up, man. The grown-ups is talking now. Most of y'all ain't saying shit. Steady shooting off your mouth. Shout out to the school kids speaking up by walking out. Pistols, politicians' favorite thing to talk about. Till it's in your mouth. You ain't talking now. My niggas carry heat to get their groceries. All my dogs never sleep. All my birds never speak. Check it. Follow my lead, cause this team no days off in the belly of the beast. I got family run the block like it's Southside Chicago. Meanwhile, I got my head in the clouds. I'm on a high note. Tuskegee airflow. Flyest kid that I know. So high, I could do world tours on frequent flyer miles. Still, my goal is Independence Day. Shout out to Young Channel. I'm gonna sit up here and do it by myself if I got to. Goddamn, boy, goddamn. Killing in the name. You got a squad full of pussy niggas, and that's a shame, huh? Shit, kid, that's a shame. All them hoes got you jammed up. Lady Marmalade. Can't even know what courage is unless you've been afraid. I'm scared to death of being broke like the chains on a lion's cage. Niggas die every day just to try and find a way. You took my pen and pad today. That'd be an early grave for me. Shout out to hood niggas on they do or die. And where's Fargo niggas steady living in a suit and tie, right? Shout out to Pushers is whipping, man. I ain't tripping. Shout out to Sunday morning niggas trying to keep it Christian. I got ambitions for more than paying tuitions. I could say this plenty louder, but is anybody listening, huh? We living through love one time. Ruben and Jimmy in the dub one time. Yes, sir.
Yeah. There we go.
My man.
My man. Thank you for that.
My man. Always good to be a part of it, bro. Always good to be in your presence. Blessings, man.
Yeah, I heard some things in there. So how do you define living a life through love?
Whew. It's a great question. From a scientist's perspective and from my own personal, to live through love is to live through knowledge of oneself and knowledge of others. Taking the time to experience, listen, and be present with others and with yourself. And so as that relationship unfolds into the world, I think it's, connect with people that you would not normally and find reasons to find awe in the world. You know what I mean? Find reasons to find pause with the things that you do. I know this pandemic situation was heavy to a lot of us, but I felt like it also gave us a reason to find an excuse to just tap in and check on your people for no reason at all. Just to be like, yo, my man's just thinking about you. I want to know what's going on. You know what I mean? And if you should be so kind as to tell me, we might be able to share that burden together. You know what I mean? So that's how I want to live through love. I want to let my people know that I represent with them and for them at all times. And I want to let myself know that there's no shakiness or weakness in the concept of being small enough to take a minute out to listen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it is a challenge. And more often than not, we're going to fail. And that's okay, because failures are just the steps we use to get to success. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna try every day. I'm gonna clock in every day, you know, and try and get a little better every day. But I think for what I've been going through myself personally, I think it's a necessary endeavor to just better know myself and just to better connect with the people around me that help me do what I do, for sure. What about you, man? How do you live through love?
Living through love is an everyday practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's about working on myself. And it's not even trying. I try not to use the word try, because if you're trying, you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just doing it and doing it every day, doing it, working on my tools to get better to respond versus react, to listen more, to be more inquisitive, to ask more questions, to surrender to being right, and to surrender to leading from ego, and just try to be more present. You know, and right now I've got a little Remy man, and
yeah,
you know, if that's not the ultimate mirror, currently, you know, he copies everything we do, and later he'll be an even bigger mirror, because we are all mirrors to each other.
Right.
But if that's not something that like Z and I are using as a barometer of let's be the best humans we can be, because he's absorbing all of this. So living through love is just trying to really be as present as possible in that, and being kind and telling myself I love myself, and forgiving and being in that moment. But I'm human. I'm fallible. I will get emotional. You know, I may throw some F-bombs. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Let me not beat myself up for that failure in that moment. But that's a lesson, right? Success comes from compounding failures. For sure.
I'm 100% with that. Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I learned this past year was it's not the mistakes, it's how you handle them, right? I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes, and be patient with them. But how you handle it is where your greatness comes from. You know what I mean? Being the first to the table with I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being without having to like be prodded into it, or without having to have anything in return. To the point where I like, you know, when me and wifey first started kicking it, I would tell her I love you. And I'm like, please don't say it back, because I need you to say it on your terms. I don't need you to say it in response. It's not for that. I'm not saying it to you to elicit a response. That's manipulation. I'm just submitting information to you. That's how I feel, right? And so a lot of that is just a removal of ego. And it's also a block for any ego to be in the room. Like, it's not necessary.
There's a practice to that that comes from really working on receiving. A lot of us freely give and forget to receive or acknowledge a receipt. So if you're like, hey, Jimmy, I love you, and you'll be like, autopilot reactions like, Ruben, I love you too.
Right.
But you can sit and take it in the moment, or I can sit and take it vice versa and say, thank you, I know.
Right. Or that's very kind.
But now it's like just the thought of saying, thank you, I know. Like someone compliments you. Thank you, I know. If they're not prepared, you could maybe misconstrue it. I'm like, whoa, I was trying to give you a compliment or give you some love, but it's not about that. It's thank you. And I know, because I'm receiving what you just said.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel that. Right. Yeah. It's so important, man. That's wow. So it's simple things, right? I feel like
yeah. I mean, sorry to cut you
off. No, go ahead.
But humans are meaning-making machines, and we like to overcomplicate everything.
Interesting.
We're trying to add more complications and more layers and more labels to try and do the total opposite. Let's be more inclusive by adding more labels.
Right.
Let's remove all the labels, just say we're all human. And how simple is that? Now, isn't that ultimately the most inclusive thing? We're all humans.
Right. Well, okay. We get into the concept of communication and what is the value of communication. Ultimately, the value of communication should be to understand and to be understood. Transaction. So in the game of marketing and in the game of like advertisement, you'll hear a lot of things on a commercial with an intent or an agenda in there to get you to you know, the left might have you thinking like, wait, hold on. The left is just people who think about one subject differently than you, but you'll box them in to call them one thing. Or the right is this. Anytime you take one person's ideas and extrapolate that, put that over a totality of people, I'm sorry, you missed the boat, right? That's not all of us, not the end all be all. And I feel like I've been guilty of painting with too broad of a stroke myself. You know what I mean? And the idea being like, okay, well, all Trump people are this type of people. All right, well, maybe not. But in the space of it, all of those conversations and all of that debate and all of that is missing one thing, and that's an intention to understand, right? And so once we get away from that, we lose that. We're missing that, man. You know what I mean? Even when in your relationships, more specifically with your significant. When we get into these arguments, a lot of times there's this thrust and this forward energy to want somebody to understand you, or to like force them to understand you, right? No. You need to understand what I'm trying to tell you, right? And it can become a tug of war. And the moment we can put that down dually, like where it's me and you versus the problem, as opposed to you are the problem and I'm going to argue with you. No. It's never that. It really is never that. It's like, hey, this is the issue. How can we handle it? And let me understand what's going on with it from your perspective, right? And hopefully you'll be able to share with me so I can better understand. And I feel like that's going to be a winning situation for a lot of people to change their perspective on arguments. And let's be honest, like that's a lot of the strife people live their lives with, is avoiding arguments in a relationship, or how they measure. Most of the time, relationships are measured by how you handle conflict, not how you vacation well. You know what I'm saying? Not built on your W's, is how you handle your losses. So hopefully, some game for those people out there that's listening, like, hey, try and change your narrative, trying to change your perspective. Right.
And if we simplify that, is let's surrender to our past traumas, acknowledge them, and try not to continue moving that forward.
Oof, making excuses for them.
It's like, I'm fragmented right now. I'm triggered right now. That's why I'm practicing living through love, to be more self-aware of me being in that moment. I'm getting better. By all means, I'm nowhere near where I need to be or want to be.
Right.
And one day maybe I will be. But let's just acknowledge, like, oh, my trauma is being triggered. I'm bringing this in. And then there's generational trauma. And we all bring that to the table.
Right. That's heavy, man.
So it's like, love, seek to understand. Put them together.
So, okay, you got siblings?
Yeah, I got a younger brother.
Okay. And then who you closer with, your mom or your dad?
I would say my mom.
Okay. Normal. Very normal. Like nothing crazy. But in that concept, you feel like a lot of what you learned about how to engage with the world, you learned from your mother. You know what I'm saying? And a lot about how you engage with, how you deal with conflict, you handle that gets exerted out on the closest person to you, probably your brother, right? You can learn a lot from who you are in society by just how you navigate those two relationships. You know what I mean? Same thing with me. My big brother was like my first protector, my first soldier, and then life happened, you know what I mean? And so we're not close like that no more. And that shit is heavy, but it's also me like submitting to, it's been a long time of me trying to ask you to be something that maybe perhaps you weren't ready to be, you know what I mean? Or didn't want to be, or whatever. But same thing like with my old man. I went through a whole like dissertation in college where I wrote a paper on him about his name is Dad, understanding that before he was my father, he was a whole human being. You know what I'm saying? And like went through all his stuff and his traumas and like the things that he had to carry, and then decided on his own, no, he's going to fight for this relationship, and raised two boys by himself. I got to give it to that man. No matter what he, how we might be for whatever, I got to give it to my old man. Because he decided to step out into that space, took a lot of risk on. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I see a lot of how I engage with the world with how I engage with my own man and my brother. You know what I mean? So wild stuff.
Man, so I'm just recapping our conversation right now. And we've got the Live Through Love song coming out, right?
Yes,
it's like a self-love journey. Can't wait to share that with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put you on the spot. I might have to drop a whole EP on let's talk about generational trauma, how that affects us. Let's talk about relationships with our parents in that context. Let's talk about, let me stand here with love to understand you. Because why can't a Trumper and a Republican and a Democrat meet in the middle, love each other as humans? They don't have to agree with each other. That's the whole thing. None of us have to agree.
Right.
Let's be opinionated and have opinions, but let's just come from a space of love to try to educate each other and understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could come out with a whole.
Yeah, the EP would be wild, man. To have like some theme on the platforms regarding like, oh man, you could write albums on generational trauma,
right?
And generational curses. And I feel like a lot of what the direction is going for St. James music is a lot of that. It's a lot of like what inhibits or supports your capacity to self-determine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have to submit to the things that these are your truths, right? And ugly as they may be, you got to own that shit. And you got to take it and remove its power from it over you and to start to utilize it for yourself for better things. But you can't do none of that until you can like face a mirror and say like legitimately, this is what's really going on. And I don't feel like there's enough music out there right now that's helping us do that. But necessity is the mother of all invention. And as that's coming out now, it took a pandemic, right? For us to really like start seeing some of these uglies pop up and these challenges and this need, right? But now more than ever, man.
Take us back to our tribal roots.
For reals.
Well, thanks for coming in today. Thank you for the conversation. This has been fruitful. This has been fun. It's been creative. Where can everyone find you?
Oh, man, you can just type in SNTJMS.com. You can find me everywhere. StJames.com or just anywhere on any social media at Enjoy St. James. Or you can just type in SNT JMS. It's going to pop up. You're going to find a boy. He ain't hard to find.
Yeah. All right, brother.
My man, always a gift, bro.